We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
with global pals. It's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about
Everything Theater. Hi, everybody. I'm Benita Zahn.
And I'm Ellen Cribbs. And before we get started today, we want to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Harbinger Theater. They have a production of Deep Blue Sound by Abe Kugler, and it opens September 12th and runs until the 21st. Here's a quick little synopsis. On an island in the Pacific Northwest, the community gathers to address the disappearance of the local orcapod. Friendships fray, tumors grow, new love blooms, wood is chopped, poems are written. The seasons change. Will the whales ever return? And that's going to be over at Steamer 10 Theater. So go check that out, September 12th through the 21st.
I was really it was all I could do not to do hand gestures with, By the shores of Gitchigumi. It's the end of a long summer, I think. I don't know. It is what it is. But that sort of is our segue to our guest. We've got Jeffrey Hocking with us. He's the Director of Audience Services at Schenectady Light Opera. Good to have you.
Thanks, Benita. It's great to be here. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
I was going to say, this all stems from years ago. I think it was like our first year, and I went to SLOC to see a show, and Jeffrey said, hey, by the way, if you ever do an episode about box office, I'd love to hear it. And now here we are, finally, like 5 years later.
I'm not exactly sure what I want to say about it, but at least I'm now on the podcast.
There you go. And that's what I was saying. So what its tales from the box office really speak to, by the shores of, make the jump with me. I think we're there. We
Yeah. So as part of the joy that I get from being in the box office at SLOC, I started a long time ago starting this series. I've actually been the box office manager there for 10 years now. I just was realizing that I'm starting my 10th season. I started just posting on Facebook my interactions with patrons, and some of them are great, and some of them you have to wonder where these people came from. They're
So I have to wonder, Jeffrey, do you follow Steve Barnes from the Times Union, the critic? And
sometimes, yeah.
Well, he posts Overheard. And I have to wonder if some of those folks were in the restaurant prior to the box office.
I wouldn't be surprised. It takes all sorts to make a world, as they say. So
first off, my first question, because it's something we're going to talk about. We've got another podcast we're going to record tonight. The summer box office receipts in New York City are soft.
Well, they had a bunch of big shows close.
Yep. Yes. But even with, there's a concern. So let me just ask, what are you seeing locally? Has it been holding steady? We're going to do the serious stuff first, Jeff.
Well, it's hard to say because summer theater is not really what I do in the area. So we have certainly seen tickets have been selling for our upcoming season. We've seen some great sales for Dreamgirls, shameless plug, that's coming up in September. Also the 12th to the 21st, in case anyone's looking. We've seen some great sales for that, and also for our fall show with our the youth cast that we have for Hadestown. So those have been selling fairly well. I will say, though, that generally, locally, we don't see a ton of ticket sales until like the 9 or 10 days before a show opens. It's usually a pretty close window. I mean, people are willing to plan months in advance for a Broadway show when they're spending $200. They are not looking to plan that far in advance usually when they're spending 30 or 40. So
how much patience does it take? And then I'm going to shush up, Ellen. How much patience does it take?
It takes some patience. I'll be honest with you. I try to just kind of roll with the punches and not let it bother me. And usually when a patron is calling and it's a difficult call, I just keep saying this will do great numbers on Facebook.
Well, I was going to go back to the ticketing question. How about subscriber base? Have you seen any change in that? Because I've been talking to a
No,
couple companies and they said nowadays people, as much as theaters love subscribers, people just aren't subscribing because they don't want to commit to a whole season. They
yeah.
want to pick and choose and make a decision the night of or the night before.
Absolutely. I mean, I was actually having this discussion with someone from our ticketing vendor. We had a long discussion about this, that season subscriptions are just not what they used to be. I mean, anecdotally, I can tell you that SLOC prior to the pandemic, we were a little over 500 season subscribers, which had grown over the years, and now we're lucky to get just over 200. So as much as I try to attract subscribers and get people to come in, people are really not as keen to become a subscriber anymore. I think it's partially younger audiences don't want to plan that far ahead. We have put into place a flex pass, so you can buy a flex pass that's 5 shows and see whichever 5 shows you want and pick the nights that you want as late as the day of the show. But it's not taking off as much as we would hope, or it's not replacing the subscriber base that we had before.
Interesting.
Certainly seeing much more individual tickets, and like I said, that buying window is like 9 or 10 days before the show is when we really start to see it ramp up.
That's very Capital Region. I don't know if other communities are like that, but I see that I do a lot of fundraising work. And as much as you want tickets sold beforehand, and there are some that do, but the onslaught of interest is usually about a week and a half before.
Yeah.
And I don't have an explanation for it. I mean, we can all,
Well, I think it just goes to there are so many shows and so much to see and so much to do. I think people are sometimes just kind of biding their time to see which show is going to be better or which show is going to be worth their time and their money, and they don't want to invest until they know that they're going to get what they paid for.
Yeah.
Do you think reviews are having an impact on audience, or are people waiting for those reviews either from newspapers or from word of mouth?
I will tell you that when there is a good review that that's actually in print, not just online, our second weekend goes crazy. So if there's a good review that is printed in the Gazette, because Steve Barnes can't be bothered with us, but that's okay. So when we have a review that is actually in print for Nippertown or for the Gazette, we definitely see a huge bump in sales in that second weekend. Usually thanks to that. And the calls that I take, people are usually saying, "Oh, I saw it in the Gazette," or "I saw it, I saw that." And certainly online reviews help as well, but it kind of speaks to the quality of the production, and people who were on the fence about seeing it because they weren't sure if it was going to be great or not when they have that reinforcement that it's a good show, we definitely see a bump in sales there as well.
Which reinforces the fact that it's an older audience, because we know the demographics and, if you will, young people aren't reading the newspaper. They're getting their
Absolutely.
online.
Absolutely.
So,
and I would say that those people who are seeing the newspaper are definitely older patrons. The online reviews do help as well. I'm not saying that they're not as important, but I can definitely feel it when there's a review in print. I definitely see a bump quickly.
So, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
I was at the track the other day.
Oh, okay.
It's rare, but I know how to place a bet, and
Okay.
I placed a bet, and the guy, I said, I won 2 for an exacta box, $1 exacta box, and he smiled. He said to me, "Well, you know how to do it." You know where I'm heading with this.
I'm not sure I do.
I
got the horse right here. Are we going to do that number from Guys and Dolls?
You're so amusing. Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down. You're rocking the boat, babe. No, do people know how to place an order?
They do. In general, I think they do. I will say that in the last year we switched our ticketing system, and our ticketing system, no shade to the vendor that we were using previously, was a little bit not user friendly. It was built from a time long ago that required many more hurdles to jump through. And I think there are many more easier. There are many more easy ticketing systems, and the one that we have currently, I think, is much easier for people to use. And for the most part, people are able to reserve online, or they're able to call and make a reservation or purchase a ticket pretty easily.
I was leading you, but I guess I didn't lead well enough. You know, they say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Okay, I want you to sip. You sent us a little bit of a play.
I did, yeah. I sent you some of my tales from the box office,
That's where I was headed.
so that we might have a little staged reading.
Yeah.
Since we have two expert actors here, some of the Capital Region's finest, according to the Times Union, right?
The guy who doesn't come and review you, but yeah, we'll just let that slide.
We have tried to get the Times Union to come review us, and they just don't want to come as far as Schenectady.
Yeah.
We can have a conversation about that another day.
Mm-hmm.
I realize that they have to focus their time and their energy and their money on Albany as a community, but it'd be nice if they would come out every now and then to Schenectady.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I think the word has been shared.
Hopefully nobody's lurking in the bushes trying to attack me when I leave the theater.
I suspect not. So back to the issue at hand.
Back to the tales from the box office. Do we have a volunteer who'd like to read the first one?
I'll read it.
All right. So would you be the patron and I'll be myself?
Absolutely.
Great.
Do you have a seat available for Sunday?
I do. Do you have any preference about where you'd like to sit?
I just like something up close.
That's perfect. I have a seat available in the middle of the front row. Does that work?
Maybe something not as close?
Oh, well, I do have the second row, or beyond that, it's going to be some seats like towards the back of the theater and the risers.
Nothing closer than the second row?
I mean, I have the front row, or I have the second row. I don't have anything in between the front row and the second row, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll think about it and I'll call you back.
Okay, great. I think my comment when I posted this one online was, this is not Hogwarts. We don't have a platform 9 3/4. There's nothing in between the rows. Unless you want to maybe lay down on the floor, but
so, Jeffrey, they don't know how to order tickets.
They don't. And I will tell you, over time they have gotten better, but there's always some out there.
So look, the point of this is not to make mock of your audience, because we respect the audience clearly.
Of course.
But do you think that there is a nervousness that comes in when one is dealing with ordering tickets?
I think so. So if it's somebody who's not been to our theater before or doesn't go to theater regularly, I think they're nervous about making a decision kind of sight unseen. If they don't know what the space is like or know where the seats are or how it's laid out, no matter how much I try to describe it or explain it, there's always a little bit of nervousness of, am I really going to be able to see? Is this a good seat? Am I, at Proctor's, there are 2,500 seats, and it's easy to get a seat that is maybe not the best seat, and you don't know that until you get there. We're lucky enough that we're a very small theater, and there really are very few bad seats, but they're going based on just my opinion and what I'm telling them, and hopefully that's enough to convince them that the seat is a good one. And if it's not a good seat, I would tell them it's not a good seat.
Have you ever thought about holding tours?
I haven't, no. Just for random people to come in and see the theater?
Maybe once a quarter to have an open house, so that your audience feels comfortable, and let them come and try out a seat.
Okay.
That might be something many theaters could do, and they could come and meet you and others in the company.
Sure.
There's a buy-in. These are challenging times for theaters, and
yeah.
I'm spitballing. I really didn't think about this until.
I will say that I've had a few people who have called for subscriptions and have called for tickets and were nervous about it. And I said, I can meet you at the theater in 30 minutes if you want to come look at it. I mean, I have certainly done that. I don't necessarily do that all the time because I have a day job, but when I can, I do sometimes stop down to the theater and say, this is the seats that I have, and does this work? Sometimes for a group, if they want to know, if they're buying more than 1 or 2 tickets, I'll make that exception. But it's not a bad idea.
I know back when we talked to Diaka Kappa Hill about house managing, and she stressed about how the audience experience of that whole show, that whole evening starts the second they arrive at the theater. It's not when the show starts, it's their experience right from the get-go. And I would say even before that evening, buying the tickets, because I've
Right.
had numerous experiences buying tickets that have not been very pleasant, mainly in New York City. And I think it's because they're like, we got to move. We got, people waiting. But I like to know where the seat is. If I'm like, what, do you have anything orchestra? And they'll go, yeah, I've got, K 105, 106. I'm like, okay, but like, where is
What's
that?
that mean?
And I'm like, can you show me on the map? And some people get really mad at that and really kind of short with it. And it really leaves a sour taste in the mouth. So talk to us about your role as, the first experience into that production and that company.
Well, we do really try to make sure that we have as much information online as possible. And if someone's calling, we are very clear to provide as much resources as we can. But then as they get to the theater, we have house management staff and we have usher staff to help them find their seats. And they're all lovely people, many of who worked for the theater for a very long time. We still have a full actually printed playbill, which not everybody has anymore, which a lot of patrons appreciate. Um, we were considering getting rid of it, and we heard very strongly from people that we should not. So we're gonna continue with that printed playbill for as long as we can, and just making sure that people are able to get into the theater easily and find their seats and enjoy the show. Yeah, we do have a unique space that it's not necessarily designed as a theater first, so there are some bottlenecks that happen, but we try as best as we can to get people in and out as easily as we can.
But you have parking.
Thanks to the city, there are several parking lots around us, and it's wonderful until Wicked is at Proctor's at the same weekend, and the parking goes away.
And you gotta fly in. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember and we did Reduce Shakespeare there, and we added in a joke about needing to finish the show before Proctor's let out. Because that is something real. You're always watching, like, oh, is the show gonna let out the same time
You
as
need to get out
Proctor's?
like 10 minutes before or 10 minutes after Proctor's. We can't get out at the same time. Because you're stuck if you have to go down Broadway, and then you're stuck in all that Proctor's traffic. That's how I go home too. It's up Broadway. So I'm always like, I'm going to leave before the show's over. No. It's funny that you mentioned about New York City. I actually just went to the city a couple weeks ago and went to see Maybe Happy Ending. And very carefully, I'm very particular about the seats that I want. I went to make sure I was in an aisle and, a little bit further back. And I was very careful about the seat that I chose. And I was convinced it was an aisle seat. And I got there and I was not in the aisle seat. And I said to the usher, I thought that I picked the aisle seat. And she said, well, you didn't. That's your seat. I was like, oh, all right. I guess I am not sitting on the aisle. So it's
Oh.
a little bit of a not so happy of that ending, but the show was wonderful. But the initial experience, I was like, oh, okay. Like she didn't even look at my ticket. She just was like, no, that's not the aisle.
that's interesting, Jeffrey. We had a similar experience not that long ago. And I'm wondering if they're pulling the old, switcheroonie.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Because I remember saying to my husband, I was really sure this was the aisle seat. And
Yeah.
I'm a bit of as I'm sure you are, a bug about how we go about picking the seats.
Well,
But
I'm a full figure fella and I don't like to squeeze in the middle of a row. I like to be on the end, and it ended up being fine, but I was just a little taken aback by her attitude. Hopefully that's not an attitude that people are getting locally. I think that we try to be far friendlier than that. Although I suppose if we were dealing with 1,000 tourists every day, that we might be a little rougher around the edges too.
what do you wish you could still implement at SLOC to ensure a smooth ticket purchasing experience for your patrons?
Um, I'm not sure. Um, I mean, I wish that more people would take advantage of the tools that are available to them, like downloading the tickets to their phone or things like that. But that's just an education thing that but not every patron wants to do that. We have lots of ways of getting your tickets, and not everybody wants to use those electronic means to do that. I'm not sure that I have a suggestion for making the ticket buying process early. I mean, you bought tickets at SLOC. Do you have any suggestions on what we should do to make it easier?
I was really happy. I know the house, and I said to the hubs, "Hey," yeah, he's going to go, "What?
It's a nice little intimate theater. I mean, for as large as it is, it's still fairly intimate, and there really are not very many bad seats.
Actually, you're better in the front row and the third row than the second row because the angle doesn't get you up high enough."
I agree, and I am clear to explain that to people. Usually, my first question is when they want to sit in the second or third row, and I say, "How tall are you?" You're only 5'4". You're not going to be happy in that seat. You're traveling with your 7-year-old child. You don't want to sit there.
Yeah, which goes back to the woman who you had the conversation with, the little vignette with Ellen.
Exactly.
Take the first row or go a little further back because the rate, the angle changes. And that's a legitimate question for someone to ask, and these are things, will I be able to see? Is there what are the sight lines like? Oh, you've got a balcony. Is it better to sit there than in the third row?
That's what I always ask. Where's the balcony overhang? And I always say, personally, do you think it's better in the audience or the balcony? Because I just saw Stranger Things last night, and balcony was where it was at. And that box office person told me, they said, see it from the balcony because you just get it, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those New York theaters, the balcony can really be obstructive if you're sitting in the back of the orchestra.
Yep.
And then there are some balconies, if you're sitting towards the back of the balcony, the mezzanine above you or whatever it is overhangs too, and it makes it even harder to see as well. You have to be really careful with those New York theaters.
Yeah. And then you just could buy, what is it, Tix Today or whatever it is, the last minute.
Today Tix.
What's that was? I'm sorry.
Today Tix.
Today's Tix. You sit in the nosebleed territory and just hope they're mic'd really well.
Well, I was going to ask about all these different platforms to purchase tickets because there's so many. And obviously, the easiest way to get tickets are to order online. However, that's not how I do my tickets because there's usually just a ridiculous fee. For example, when we go down to New York, we always plan our next trip so that we can go to the box office and buy the tickets. And it saves us about $50 in fees once we get all our tickets, So, give us a skinny on that, Jeffrey. Is there, did the theaters get hurt from people buying directly from the box office or online, or does it not make a difference to you?
Locally, there's not really an option. If they online or through the box office, they're going basic. There's not like a third party vendor as there is down in the city. I will say that for us, we waive the ticketing fees if they do call instead of buying online. I don't want to say that too loudly though, because then my phone is going to start ringing more. But if you really are desperate to save $2 a ticket, certainly give me a call. I'm happy to do that for you. Also, we waive tickets. We also waive fees for subscribers and flex passes. So if you want to be a subscriber of flex pass, but certainly for the city, there are definitely ways to avoid some of those fees and get tickets cheaper. I'm a big proponent of always booking directly through the theater's website. I very rarely find deals that are much better than going right directly through the theater. Sometimes there are third party vendors, but I usually go right through the theater's website. There are so many kind of scams out there that are charging you.
Yeah. Do you have any problem with that locally where two people show up and they're both expecting to sit in row B, seat 12?
Knock on wood, that in the 10 years that I've been doing this, that has not happened. There's a couple of times where people thought they bought one seat or bought another seat, and then when they got there, they looked at their ticket and realized they didn't actually buy the ticket that they thought they bought. But usually, I can't think of a single time that we've had two people show up with the same ticket, or we've had like scammers or resellers that were trying to resell our tickets. Knock on wood. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
And how well do you know SLOC's audience? I think of Katie Weinberg, who does the box office at Albany Civic, and watching her run that box office is always so fun because she's like, "Oh, hey, Pete, I got your ticket, and how's the wife, and she just knows these patrons because they've been going for so many years."
Katie and I are similar in that most of our subscribers I know on site, and I have some tricks to remember. I may not remember every one of them, but I have some tricks to remember to give myself to make sure that I do. But I definitely know a lot of them. There was actually as I was reading back through some of my tales from the box office, I had somebody call me on the phone, and I didn't understand the name that they gave me. And she was like, "Oh, I need to change my tickets for opening night," and I was like, "I'm not really sure who this is." So I quickly opened up a list of everybody who was attending on opening night, and then I figured out, like, just by the sound of her voice and the names that were coming, I figured out who it was. And she never knew that I didn't know who it was. But I know our patrons well enough in most cases that I can figure out who they are pretty quickly, which I think a lot of our patrons appreciate.
Yeah. You perform also. We
I
should
do.
point out, as long as we're doing, shameless plugging, you're going to be in the 25th annual Spelling Bee.
Yep, 25th. Oh my goodness, 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. Yes.
Yes. Let's get it all. And it's also the fourth time you said you've been in the show.
Well, I have directed it 3 times, and this will be the third time that I'm in it. So the first time I did it, I just directed. The second time I did it, I was just in it. The third time I was directed it and I was in it as well, and then this time I'm just in it. So
So you hate this show, obviously.
I love this show. I love it so much. It's been the same part every time. This is just a show that warms my heart so much. I read the script and I get choked up in the same parts every time I just reading the script, not even performing it. It's just such a sweet show and so lovely and so fun. And there's a little bit of improv to it, and no show is the exact same 2 nights in a row. It's so fantastic. And the cast that we have at Sand Lake Center for the Arts in October is fantastic. All Capital Region veterans that have been around forever: Eric Shova, Adam Coons, Nick Martiano, Heather D'Arcy. I mean, wonderful performers that have been around forever. And it's going to be a wonderful show, I think. We just had our first rehearsal yesterday.
So, box office to being on stage. Very different theater creatures.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think there's definitely a little bit of performing in working in the box office. You don't know how I'm really feeling when I answer the phone. I have to put on that mask like everybody else. Whether I'm having a good day or a bad day, I have to be having a good day so that our patrons get a great experience.
Are you the only one who handles it, or do you have, minions, Jeffrey?
It is mostly me. We're working on getting a couple of other folks trained so that they can do it, but it's mostly me. And quite honestly, I'm a little bit of OCD that I like to just be in control. I'm bossy, and I like to be in charge of it.
And it's the Jeffrey Show.
It is. It is. It's part of what makes me the mayor of community theater.
There you go. You need to get that in. So give us a quick rundown on your season.
So we're opening in September, September 12th through the 21st with Dream Girls, which has not been done for quite a few years here. I think Coho's Music Hall did it way back when, but I think that's the last time it was done, probably at least 15 years ago. We're then going to Hadestown Teen Edition. That's our all-youth production, 9th through 12th graders. And we don't treat it like a youth show. We treat it like every other show in our season. We give those students the same respect that we give any adult actor. And quite honestly, it's almost always one of the best shows of the season is our youth show that we do in November. We just announced auditions for our January show, which is The Mystery of Edwin Drood, which is another show that I absolutely adore. It is so fun. It's based on Charles Dickens' unfinished novel, The Mystery of Edwin Drood. And at the end of the show, the audience gets to pick who the killer was and who the lovers are. And it's so much fun. It's directed by Brian Clemente, who is an amazing director. So it's going to be a really wonderful show as well. In March, we're moving on to Man of La Mancha, a classic that people I think are going to love, directed by Amy Sarah Lamena. And then we're wrapping up the season with American Idiot. So some good old-fashioned guitar playing, little rock music to finish out the season.
Sounds great. And when folks call, know that you're going to be talking to Jeffrey Hocking. He's your main man in the box office.
It rings right to my cell phone. You won't get anyone else. Sometimes you'll get my voicemail, but usually you'll get me.
Well, should we do a really quick close-up segment, Benita?
Okay.
Do you have time for me to give one more plug before we move on?
Yes.
Sorry.
Go for it.
So, as part of my duties as the mayor of community theater, I also manage the Captist auditions and Captist events calendars.
Why do we not talk about that? Of course.
So, Captist auditions is where 3,000 people in the Capital District receive all of their audition notices. So if you aren't currently receiving your audition notices, or you want to know what's auditioning and coming up in the Capital District, you can go to capdisttheater.org, CAPDISTTHEATER.org, and you can sign up for that list. There's also an announcement list, which will tell you all of the productions that are coming. People can send in their performance announcements. And then just in the past 6 months or so, we've developed an events calendar. So it lists literally every production going on in the Capital District. There are over 100 theaters, and we go all the way to the Berkshires and all the way down to the Catskills and all the way up to Glens Falls. So every show that's going on, we have listed there. And I painstakingly am trolling the internet to find every production that I possibly can to make sure that everybody gets the advertisement that they need. So capdisttheater.org, and you can access the mailing list as well as the calendar. So yeah.
And you do that all just out of the graciousness of your own heart, right? Your own volunteer hours of painstakingly putting together that event calendar.
I do, and I also pay for the domain name and the hosting, and Joel Lord is also pays for the hosting of the website and the tools that we use. So it's all absolutely a labor of love to support the community and make sure that everyone's seats are full.
Love it.
That's great. I just want to repeat, it's CAP, CAPDIST,
Yep.
THEATER, two T's
Yep. .org. Yep.
.org.
It's
I feel that a lot of folks, it's interesting when people come to the community. If I run into somebody new and they're involved in theater and they really at sea, they don't know where to turn, how do I get involved? And I always say, you need to be on that listserv.
Absolutely. We have almost 3,000 people that are signed up, and it really is informative information. Almost no theaters maintain their own email list for auditions anymore. Everybody uses that to announce their auditions.
Yeah.
So they should buy you a coffee, Jeffrey.
What's that?
I said they should buy you a coffee.
I've considered ways to monetize it, but I just don't feel right about that. I feel like it needs to be free for the community because we're all just doing this out of the love of theater. So.
And you know what, Ellen? I think that's a good place to leave it.
All right. Yeah, I like that. Our time was better suited talking about that.
Want to do one more plug for Harbinger?
Yes. So go check out Harbinger's Deep Blue Sound starting September 12th, running through the 21st. And that's at Steamer 10 Theater. Let them know that you heard it from Everything Theater Podcast or from the wonderful Cap Disc Announce website. All the events that are listed there. Check out all the great theater in the area.
And Jeffrey, break legs.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, what are the dates of Putnam County? We can plug that too.
October 17th to the 26th, I believe. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, both weekends.
In Sand Lake.
In Sand Lake, yep. It's not as far away as you think it is.
No, it's not. Listen, that's what we say about, let's see, Bridge Street and Fort Salem. And yeah, it's not. Just get in the car and go have a good time.
In the fall, it's a beautiful drive through the leaves. You can peep some leaves on your way. Maybe, stop for a dinner. It's lovely.
And they usually have good brownies at the theater. Don't ask me how I know.
That is a key point for any theater.
Jeffrey, thank you so very much. This has been a blast.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been wonderful.
Thanks for all our listeners for listening. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And I'm Benita Zahn. See you next time. Be well.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater Podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything.